Hello everyone and welcome to the Fremont Debate Academy. My name is Ashwin Raguraman and today I'm going to be teaching you about the types of speeches. So first of all, as always, let's start off with a meme. I believe this meme is pretty self-explanatory, however, it'll get more obvious as this lecture continues. Alright, so the first type of speech is a persuasive speech. Now, the purpose of a persuasive speech is to convince the audience of a certain point of view. For example, you might be convincing someone to buy a product, or to believe your mindset, like a political mindset, or you might convince someone to do a task for you. Often a persuasive speech would be using ethos, pathos, and logos. So just to summarize in case you don't know this already, ethos is appealing to the credibility of either yourself or someone you cite. For example, if I am trying to sell a pair of shoes, I might appeal to ethos by saying, I'm the best shoemaker ever. I've been making shoes for 50 years so far. The second thing is pathos. Pathos is an emotional appeal. So for example, if I'm selling a pair of shoes, I might be including a bunch of pictures of people smiling, wearing these shoes, or I may be saying these shoes are super warm and comfy, they'll let you live a nice, happy life. And finally, we have logos. So logos is the logical appeal. Going back to the shoe example, by using logos, I might say the New York Times has cited my shoes as the warmest, best, fuzziest shoes to ever exist. And furthermore, the shoes are 9 centimeters long and they cost $5, for example. So you're just using facts and logic in logos. So often persuasive speeches would use all three of these, even though a lot of other types of speeches only focus on one or maybe two. So here's a more in-depth example of a persuasive speech. It's a sales pitch. So essentially it's a seller trying to convince a customer to buy something. For example, let's say you are a car salesman. You have a car that you want to sell someone. In ethos, you would use a study or an endorsement. So the New York Times has cited my car as the safest car ever to exist. You would use pathos here by showing like pictures of smiling people with their family standing next to the car. And you would use logos by saying how much fuel does it consume, how fast does it go, and essentially how much does it cost. You would also compare your car to other different cars. Like the car down the street, it only goes this fast versus my car only goes this fast. So essentially, you're trying to use all three of them, ethos, pathos, and logos, if you're trying to convince the audience of something. Another example for persuasive speech is a political speech. For example, let's say that you're trying to convince someone to side with your political party. That would be a persuasive speech since you're trying to change their mindset. You're trying to persuade them to switch over to your mentality. Here's a quick warning though. Persuasive speeches don't work on everyone, and they 100% do not work all the time on the first try. For a sales pitch specifically, it doesn't mean that your pitch is bad if it doesn't sell after the first time, but rather it means that the people need multiple different pitches and they need outside information. So they don't just need you to convince them, they also need to do their own research and they also need to hear from other people as to why they should buy the product, especially as it gets more expensive or especially as it gets more game-changing and important. Let's give an example here. Let's say you are campaigning for a political party and you're trying to convince people to go out and vote. Here, you know that just talking to a person one time and telling them to vote won't work because you're asking them to give up a few hours of their time just because you called them for like 10 seconds to tell them to vote, which is why so many political campaigns will call people many, many times, even after they confirm that they will vote, because they want to be 100% certain that you will vote and they know for a fact that it won't work on the first time. The next type of speech is an informative speech. An informative speech is essentially to educate the audience about a specific topic, so to teach about a subject or show how to perform an action. The difference between an informative and persuasive speech is a persuasive speech is meant to convince you of a certain point of view or convince you to do something, versus an informative speech is just to give you the facts and it allows you to make up your own mind about whether you want to use those facts and how you want to use them. But the purpose of the informative speech is just to lay the facts out there. So a few examples. First of all, an informative speech might be a professor lecturing in class. Let's say you're teaching a college class about chemistry. You're informing all of the students about how all the chemicals would react to each other and about how all this complicated stuff works. So you are informing the audience and giving an informative speech. Next, there might be a company president talking about last month's sales. Now, you might be thinking the second one is actually a persuasive speech. But if the company president is just talking about the sales, just giving out the statistics, like our sales dropped by 60% last month, that is an informative speech. Versus if the company president adds another part to that, like our sales dropped 60% last month, so let's lower the prices and produce more products, then that would be a persuasive speech since it's advocating for specific action to be done. Versus an informative speech is just saying how the sales went. The third example is this lecture to you right now. I'm teaching you how to speak in front of a crowd. That's informing you about something, that's teaching you a specific action, and hence this is an informative speech. The third type of speech is a motivational speech. A motivational speech is essentially meant to motivate or inspire the audience, which might in turn lead to a specific action. Now, again, you might be thinking, how's a motivational and persuasive speech different? A persuasive speech is meant to convince your audience to do something that would benefit others or that would benefit you or that would benefit the community as a whole. For example, don't litter or buy this product. Versus a motivational speech is meant simply to help your audience, like go to sleep earlier, make your bed when you wake up, don't skip any meals. And these might lead to specific actions later on. Like for example, if you go to sleep earlier, then if you go to sleep earlier, you'll be more rested when you wake up, you'll be better able to contribute to society, and that benefits everyone because no one likes grumpy classmates. Many famous speeches are motivational speeches as well, as we'll get into. The first example is Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. Now, there are two facets to this speech. The first part is essentially persuading people to view everyone as equals. For example, persuading the racist people to treat everyone as their equals and to not subvert to those racist views. Versus the second part of his speech was a motivational speech. It was essentially to inspire everyone of color to believe in themselves and to believe that they are equal, to not put themselves down in front of others, meaning it's a motivational speech. Some parts of it is a motivational speech since it's motivating the audience to have more self-confidence and to believe in themselves. A second example might be a pep talk before a sports game. You're trying to motivate the team to play well, to not get intimidated by the other players, to just call upon the countless hours you've spent drilling the exact same moves over and over again. It's motivating the players to play better. And the third example is a valedictorian speech. In case you don't know, that's essentially the speech you give, the top of the class gives when they graduate like high school or college. So a valedictorian speech is a motivational speech since it's motivating everyone else to follow their footsteps or go even further and accomplish a lot, to essentially believe in themselves because one day they too can graduate. The fourth and final type of speech is an entertainment speech. The purpose of an entertainment speech is to amuse or entertain the audience. And typically these are less formal and they require less work. Usually they're like on the spot or you know about it a couple of minutes beforehand. They're not typically like I prepare for it for a couple of hours, a few weeks before the fact. A few examples of an entertainment speech. First of all, a wedding reception. If you're coming out there and you're like entertaining everyone, you're saying, I hope everyone gets along really well. This is super exciting. Thank you for inviting me here. You're essentially trying to entertain the audience, holding their attention for as long as possible. Secondly, is a birthday party. The host of the birthday party might be taking out some games, they might be telling jokes, they might be playing like party activities and everything. All of those are entertainment, but the speeches that they give, every essentially word that they say to all the guests of the party, that counts as an entertainment speech. The third example is a talent or comedy show. The purpose of these shows is essentially to hold the audience's attention to the screen for as long as possible by delivering the attention in like a funny, witty way. So for example, by telling jokes, by saying funny stuff, overall by giving the audience a good time for watching it, giving everyone a laugh, and at the same time holding the audience's attention to the screen or to the stage if it's in person. Any of these speeches can be made impromptu. Even though at this point it might seem like, oh no, I have to prepare for like 10 hours a week before the speech. any of these speeches, it can actually be given impromptu. For example, some styles of debate, they will ask you to give a persuasive speech with just 20 or 15 minutes of preparation time. Some types of speech would ask you to give an informative speech or a entertainment speech in front of others in just like 5 minutes of preparation time. Or for example, you might not know that you're actually going to be speaking in front of so many people. For example, like an impromptu news report or something that's right down your street. You might not know that until like a minute beforehand. Any of these speeches can be given on the spot as long as you use the skills we talked about in this video. So just a quick recap, there are 4 main types of speeches, and any speech can actually fit into one of these 4 buckets. A persuasive speech is to convince someone to do something. For example, a car salesman is trying to convince the buyer to buy that car. An informative speech is meant to educate the audience about a topic. For example, you're educating the audience about climate change. You're not telling them to act on climate change, but rather just giving them the facts about climate change. A motivational speech inspires someone to believe in themselves and inspire others in the future. For example, a graduation speech is inspiring people to follow their path. And finally, an entertainment speech is meant to amuse the audience. For example, a wedding reception, your main purpose if you're speaking at a wedding reception is to make sure everyone has a good time. Thank you everyone for watching this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and I will see you later. If you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to leave them in the comments and I will be sure to answer them. Have a fantastic day and thank you for watching.